This is a crosscut saw. I'm using it sort of as a carcass saw, and it's a small joinery saw. A carcass saw is a small joinery saw that's used to cut the carcass. In other words, to make things, different joints, to cut the carcass of whatever it is you're building, a cabinet, a box, anything, to length across the grain and to make cross grain joinery cuts. But the carcass saw is actually bigger than this. It is, for all intents and purposes, about the size of what I use as a tenon saw. Let me readjust. That's not working. And honestly, most of the rip cuts that I make, unless I'm cutting a dovetail joint, the rip cuts that I make are all when I break down lumber. I'm having difficulties getting this to sit still. I'm pretty sure that's going to interfere with the saw right there. Yeah. Anyway, so let's try this. And so what I'm thinking about doing, since I can't, saws are very expensive. Good ones are. And I'm not complaining. I'm just stating a fact. They are. They're fairly expensive. And there's a school of thought that says that a tenon saw ought to be a crosscut saw anyway, because you cut the tenon shoulders. I've always considered that when you cut the cheeks of the tenon, that is a rip cut, and that is the largest cut that you make on a tenon with a tenon saw. And so I always seem to, I'm gonna switch hands, to think that I'm going to have to rethink this. I actually need to build a set of bench hooks, but I've been putting it off. Anyway, so most of the joinery that I make, most of the cuts that I make, unless I'm breaking the wood down to rough size, are going to be crosscuts. They just are. And so I'm thinking about that's pretty doggone square. This guy. I'm thinking about taking my smaller tenon saw, which is about that much longer than this saw, and it's about that tall. I'm thinking about taking that and filing it to rip. Kind of stay tuned for that. Because that's pretty doggone good right there. So let me whoa, always jump out of the way, never try to grab anything sharp if you drop it. Anyway, I'm thinking that might be the better path for me. Just to file that one cross cut. We'll see, but that's for another day. Right now we're going to get I need some eyeballs. One of the other things that I would say, I do a lot of, or have done a lot of restoring of hand tools, that kind of thing, because I had to. I didn't have the money to buy a brand new saw. This saw is a vintage tenon saw. It's not a high quality saw. It doesn't even have a maker's name on it, but it's a good saw plate. The handle I do not like. I may end up altering it. I don't know. But when you watch the saw sharpening videos, you'll see guys and they'll go, oh, just pass a file through it once or twice and, you know, it's sharp. Well, they're working with saws that are not in the shape this one was in. I had to sharpen this literally about 5 times before it actually became sharp enough to use as a joinery saw. And before it would cut edges smooth enough to be worth using in woodworking. So that's a heads up. If you get an old saw, you're probably going to have to sharpen it a lot more than those guys here on YouTube that are running a file through it once or twice on every tooth. FYI. And I miscalculated the size of wood that I need. I got a 1x8 and I actually needed a 1x10 in order to completely cover the bottom. My box is 15 3/4 inch depth, and these would come out to 14.5. So what I'm going to do, or actually my box is 15.5, these come out to 14.5. But I'm going to go 1 2/16 to give me some room. So I need to put a piece either on the end or in the middle of the bottom so that to make up the difference. Hopefully I can cut this fairly straight, but we'll see. Okay, if I don't, it's not anything that I can't take a hand plane to and straighten out. And this is what I was talking about. Most rib cuts are for stuff like this. But I don't really, honestly, I don't really need an absolute perfect fit, because I want to actually nail, or screw rather, these onto the bottom without actually gluing them together. I mean, I don't know if I can with this small board. Well, I can. It'll be an inch wide at least. So that shouldn't be an issue. But I do want them fairly close as far as fit goes, so that they don't look like garbage. And there's a hump in the middle. I don't really have to completely make these. They just need to look reasonably good when you look at the bottom of the chip. Yeah, that's not looking bad. Let's take something from about here. And see what that does. Yeah, right. What about actually, let's turn it like that. I think that will match grain-wise. And that'll work. On the bottom, I won't even do any kind of just very cursory, maybe with a plane, probably not even that, because I'm going to be putting screws through here. So I've got a little spacer in between to make up the difference. And I'm not going to worry about, I'm not gluing these down. I know I've probably said that at least once already, but we're just going to screw these. And I've marked basically the center point of the sides of the box. And we're just going to run a line to give me a guideline to drill holes for the screws. That's all this is. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and judge it. Well, that's about center. Then I'm going to look here, and I'm going to judge, well, that's about center of that, and that's about center of that. And then I'm going to look and go, well, that's about center of that. That's about center of that. And that's about center of that. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screw holes. We're going to mark everything that way. So I'm going to come from this edge a bit, and that's about center of that. And I think 3 along the edge is going to be just fine. And just to make it pretty, pretty-ish. We're not worried too much about pretty. Let's go there. Boom. 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 All right. Let's see. I need my drill bit, and I need my screws. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a bit. I'm thinking that looks right. That is bigger than the hole, the screw, but not bigger than the head of the screw. Because I want plenty of room for that screw to move, for the wood to move around that screw, let's put it that way. And this is just guesstimate. I'm not doing anything technical whatsoever. I'm just doing everything by eye. Because this doesn't have to be perfect. Whatsoever. It really, really doesn't. I just don't want the wood splitting when I put the screw in, and I don't want it splitting over time because it was tightened down so much. That I didn't have room for expansion. I don't know if you can see me or not. And no, I'm not worried if I'm drilling into my bench top or anything of the sort. My bench top is not precious, it's a tool. That's what it is. Everybody has their own take. For me, that's how I see it. These don't have to be perfect because this is pine. It's a soft wood. These screws will compress a bit as I drive them in. It's not a big deal. I have a second drill, but that drill is old and the battery won't hold a charge, unfortunately. So I am relegated to doing it this way, but I'm basically just trying to get this kind of solid. And this was the wrong screw. It must have been in the box by accident. That's all right. We're going to take it out and put a proper screw in the son of a gun, because that ain't it. But I just want to get these in there where they're not going to move. And I got to be careful of that. I did not drill a pilot hole there. Homie, don't play that. I need a pilot hole. And I'm just going to do like that, just to hold it still. But I don't want to torque it all the way down, because I'm going to come from this end and kind of zip up this, and the board will flatten out and push this way. And I have some leeway because I drilled those pilot holes. But I don't want to torque this end down until I have that done. So now that I've got it pretty much. Tightened up, and this center one, I'm not gonna. Actually, yeah, that won't hurt anything. And my drill bit don't want to come out. They will compress. That's what I want them to do. So there's the bottom of the box done.